You've tuned into Unpause Your Life with Dr. Callie Estes. Your access to success strategies and more to help you move onward and upward with your life. Listen in each week as she interviews others who have really taken their essence to the next level and truly unpaused their life. Now here's your host, Dr. Callie Estes.
Hey everyone, welcome to the show. This is Dr. Callie Estes, and I am founder of the Addictions Academy, the Addictions Coach, and Rehab Rescue. Welcome to Unpause Your Life. This is a great podcast where we showcase people who have done something extraordinary with their life. I welcome you, and I hope you enjoy all of our guests.
On my way, found a reason to wake up another day.
You're listening to Unpause Your Life with Dr. Callie Estes of the Addictions Coach and the Addictions Academy. My guest today is Darren Prince, and he is a sports and celebrity agent who grew up in Livingston, New Jersey. We'll forgive him for that. Prince started a mail-order company selling baseball cards at the age of 14 called Baseball Card City, and he also traveled around the country doing trade shows. At the age of 20, he sold his company for $1 million and formed Prince of Cards, which became an industry leader in private autograph signings for sports and celebrity memorabilia with athletes and celebrities. In 95, he started a new venture called Prince Marketing Group, which represented athletes and celebrities for marketing deals consisting of endorsements, licensing, TV, movie, book deals, autograph signings, and appearances. If you ask him what his biggest accomplishment would be, he would tell you it's being a recovering addict, having celebrated 10 years sober, and a public recovery advocate who has spoken on many different TV shows such as Dr. Oz, CNN, Chris Cuomo, and more. His new book, his memoir, Aiming High, has been released as of 2018, and it became an international bestseller. Welcome, Darren Prince.
Thank you for having me in the intro.
I'll forgive you for the New Jersey. I'm from Philly, so we'll forgive you for the show. We'll let it slide.
Well, I got smart 6 months ago. I moved to Los Angeles after 49 years.
There you go. So tell me about this journey you've been on. So you've worked with some of the biggest people in the industry like Magic, Hulk Hogan, Joe Frazier, Dennis Rodman, Pamela Anderson, Carmen Electra, Jenny McCarthy, and yet are you using drugs and alcohol the whole time you're doing this?
Yes, I was. When I got out of the baseball card business and I started doing autograph signings, Muhammad Ali was the first celebrity that we started working with, and obviously there was no bigger name ever. And he it was just such a pleasure to be around. But taking a lot of those insecurities, inferiorities, feelings of less than that I had growing up, being labeled learning disabled, and not feeling on par with everybody else, I started to find success, as you mentioned in the intro, through baseball cards, and I was wildly successful. I became a prodigy in the industry, but I still had those underlying issues that I never addressed, and drugs and alcohol were always a quick fix to make me feel equal and right up there with everybody else, and sometimes better than everybody else. I was an egomaniac with an inferiority complex, and then you take all that, and now you get into a world with some of the biggest stars in the world. It was a recipe for a disaster, but I was very functioning for a long time, probably the first 7 or 8 years of it, when I had my memorabilia company. And then once I got out of that, I sold that company and started the agency in 1995 with Magic Johnson as my first client. Same thing, probably 3-4 years. I was very functioning. When I started the agency, I stopped all legal drug use. It was all about the opiates at that point. Trying to fit in a world where you're working for these icons that expect nothing but the best on the court and on the field, and the same in their business. Mm-hmm. The pressure to always deliver at the highest level started really getting to me physically, and I would get sciatica and back issues, and became a perfect excuse to fuel my addiction. And any doctor I went to gave me oxys, Percocets, and Vicodins, and that was a way of life for many years.
Wow, that's so interesting you say that, because I do the addiction side for celebrities, so I always see them at their worst, but I don't have to come in and be nice and produce something in terms of business. I can come in and say, no, you can't have that. No, you can't do this. And I'm sort of like the pain in the ass they want to get rid of. And that's what I'm paid to do. So from that side, with that level of pressure, what is that like? Because the average listener can't comprehend that. I mean, they go to work, 9 to 5, what have you. When you're dealing with some of these celebrities, are you getting green M&Ms at 3:00 in the morning, or what are you dealing with stress-wise?
There's that. I mean, there's private jets, and Dennis Rodman's case was getting arrested in the middle of the night sometimes for a DUI in Vegas and having to deal with the lawyers and the business managers and the bail bondsmen. And, there's bad PR meltdowns and situations that happen along the way as well. And you have to get out in front of it. We're not PR experts. We're agents, but you do need to know how to defuse a situation when a mistake is made. When we make a mistake, nobody knows about it. When a mega A-list celebrity makes it, the entire world knows about the mistake. And now you're scrambling to protect their brand and their interests, which also is a direct result to me in my business. So you need to get out in front of, certain negative situations and kind of diffuse it the best way that you can. And, for me, for a large part of it, like I said, I would just numb. I knew no other way. Chop up some painkillers, snort them, swallow them, melt them under my tongue. It felt like a way of life. And I'd be out, having cocktails and kind of numb myself out and sometimes not want to deal with it. And I would eventually get into the mindset where I was like, all right, I got to get in front of this and, deal with the issue at hand. And the other part of it is the business side. We agents, the ones that have, really become successful, understand that you're really only as good as your last deal. As amazing as the relationships are, and every one of my celebrities are family. I don't look at them as the rest of the world do. Birthdays, holidays, we text, we call, we support each other at different events. Like I said, whatever it might be. During my book tour, every single one of them, from Hulk to Magic to Dennis and many others, Dr. Drew, they all appeared at different book launch events. But, there's still that professional relationship. So you need to always make sure that you're producing for these figures, because at the end of the day, that's what put you together. And, it puts a lot of pressure on yourself and me and my team to just make sure that, we're always reinventing. We're always get out in front. We're not an agency that sits back and waits for the phone to ring. We look for opportunities. We continuously pitch our celebrities to make sure that, they're out in front of the biggest brands and the best brands and the newest, hottest companies.
So let's talk about that. What point did you realize this is out of control? I'm helping everyone with their career and I'm doing such a good job, but at the same time, I'm destroying my body and I'm destroying myself, my sanity, my mental health. And as they're getting bigger, I'm theoretically spiraling out of control. Who stopped you, or what happened? What was your impetus?
Well, the amazing thing with me, like when I went on Chris Cuomo, he was my first interview when I did my book on CNN. Chris and I are friends. We go way back with Dennis Rodman and some other clients of mine that, I was highly functioning. I wasn't one of these bottoms. I was a very high bottom, making a lot of money still, but I lost my sense of self. And to me, that's just as bad, because everybody else around me doesn't seem to think there's a problem but me. And at the time I was married, and maybe my guy Steve that ran my company, and my mom and dad. So there's only a handful of people that really knew that I told I was living this double life. And eventually it all came to a crashing halt in February of 2007. I was with Dennis Rodman in Las Vegas. He was in his room. I was in mine. We were out there celebrating a TV show deal that I negotiated for Dennis with Mark Cuban and his TV network, and I had a horrible case of bronchitis. And because of that, I had my first overdose. I wound up calling a doctor to the room that gave me this prescription for Tussinex cough syrup, which was my favorite. It's an opiate-based cough syrup, and a prescription for Vicodins and some antibiotics. And on the way back to the room, I called my then wife and I said, order me 3 vodka, Red Bull, and cranberries, because I'm getting ready to go out. Even though I got a little bit of a fever, it's time to celebrate. And I came back, 2 of the drinks went down, a half bottle of cough syrup, a couple of the pills, and I'm on the ground within 3 minutes, shaking, trembling, crying. My heart's feeling like it's palpitating on my chest. It's going to explode. I'm sweating. I've got the chills. I'm foaming at the mouth. I have no idea what's going on. My wife is flipping out. She calls 911. They come to the room, basically knock down the door. They put IV, EKG machines, oxygen mask on my face. I'm in and out of consciousness, praying to God, don't take me. I don't know what I did. I'll never do this again. And next thing I know, I came through. It was about 3 a.m. They must have gave me something to relax me so I could sleep. And I go into the bathroom. I look in my eyes. They're bloodshot. I got bags under my eyes. And I said, you sick bastard. Who does this? You've got all this in your life, but who mixes this stupid combination of all this stuff? Why would you mix vodka, Red Bull, and cranberry with Vicodin and Tussinex? And with that, I downed the rest of the bottle of Tussinex and a handful of Vicodins, and I went back to bed. And they talk about the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. And then next week, when I got back to New Jersey, I called an addiction psychiatrist that put me on Suboxone, which is an opiate blocker. At the same time, I'm on a mood stabilizer, antidepressants, anxiety pills, Ambien to go to bed at night, and I'm drinking a couple days a week. At that point, you gotta be somewhat of an idiot to not be like, all right, there's something wrong here.
Right. And your clientele base, did they know this was going on, or was this all behind the scenes? They had no idea.
The first one that knew was Magic. I called him probably, I think it was around, I talk about this in my book, in November of 2007. And I had a bunch of challenging times going on in my life. I lost my dog. There was a big business account that we lost. I had a big house that had a flood in it, and I was in between selling it and closing to buy a new house with my then fiance, because we actually married. It was my then wife, and we, I thought these were disastrous problems. And he said, "You don't sound too good. Those problems aside, is everything okay?" And I told him what's going on with the opiates. He very brotherly told me that he'll do anything he can to help me, but I got to get clean. And he doesn't want to lose me, and he also doesn't want it affecting our business relationship. And it took me. The crazy thing is, I think it took me. That was in November. It probably took me about another 10 months to get clean, even after that call with him.
Okay, so once you started to get clean and you started to get clear-headed, did you realize how big your problem was, or was it still diminishing and saying, I was still productive. I was still running a company and doing things well, so it's really not that big of a deal? Or did you go, wow, this was so out of control, I've got to get on top of it?
I knew right away. On July 2nd, 2008, when I'm at desperation, I hit my knees with 2 days clean with the last of my opiates in my hands, and shaking, trembling, and crying, and calling out to God for help. And went online and found a 12-step meeting. I knew right away, 30 minutes later, when I was in a church basement in the upper 80s, and I threw my hands up and they said, "Is there anybody new or counting days or sick or in a bad way?" And I just threw my hands up with no shame whatsoever. And I heard these people share the darkest of stuff and how they came out the other side. And I heard people that had problems way worse than me. And I heard ones that I could identify a lot with. And there was complete full transparency and accountability. There was no justification. I was at that jumping off point. And because I completely surrendered, because I knew that there was no other choice for me, because if I was to go back out, I would die. It's that simple. And I wasn't afraid of dying and relapsing. I was afraid of relapsing and living. And that's the fear that kept me from coming to the rooms again and again, every single day, to slowly build this beautiful spiritual foundation. And like I talk about in my book, the 4 A's, action, accountability, attitude adjustment. It's just an acceptance that you package these all together as any human being should be, but in the 12-step fellowship. And each one of those breaks these walls down that always made me looking for an outside fix that was ultimately an inside job. And slowly but surely, the real Darren started coming out. That little kid that was somewhat comfortable at a young age before all the insecurities and inadequacies started. And I started realizing the underlying root to why things were happening. And I just stuck with the winners. I would hear amazing things in these meetings, like, take the cotton out of your ears, put it in your mouth. If you want what we have, do what we do. The 12-step spiritual sober fellowship isn't for those who want it. It's not for those who need it. It's for those who do it. This has to come first in your life before anything, because you'll lose everything else you put before it. And I just wanted more and more of it, and it became spiritually intoxicating. And, one day became a week became a month became a year. And then slowly but surely, looking at what I do for a living, I was like, all my clients support me, and it's so incredibly so. I'm going to be a little bit more vocal about it and get out there. And eventually led me to writing Amy High.
Wow, that's awesome. So if you had to give our listeners a piece of advice from all the things you have done, you've been through it, you've lived it, you've worked with celebrities that have had addiction problems, what is the piece of advice you give people who need help now?
I spoke at my high school last week, and I'm a public speaker. I'm speaking this afternoon in Arizona in the recovery advocacy space. And, I said it to the students. It was a big thrill to go back home to my own high school where it all started. Don't be Darren Prince. don't be that person that has a drink or a drug or a substance in your system just to fit in. And if you have an issue at a young age, speak up, because that's where the courage is. Don't roll around in it thinking, like I did, that this is the person you need to be 24/7, 365 days a year, because it will turn on you and take you to your knees and worse. It'll take you 6 feet under. And I just wish I can go back in a time machine at times and tell my 14-year-old self, it's all right, man. Tell a guidance counselor, tell a teacher, tell a friend you can trust, or your mom and your dad, that, you know, what you're taking. I had an experience at sleepaway camp with the opiates when I was 14, from stomach pains that a nurse gave me. And it changed my life. It transformed my life. I felt like Superman. And instead of saying, this is a feeling that is weird, I just rolled around in it. I wanted more and more of it because I knew it made me feel the person that I needed to feel. But like anything else, it turns on you. And what was once living to use turned out to using to live. And I couldn't get out.
That's so correct. You get into that cycle. I call it the hamster wheel. Once you're on the hamster wheel, you can't get off the hamster wheel, and you got to keep going, because if the wheel stops, you'll turn over yourself.
Exactly. And then it stops working. Which is even worse.
Yep. And then you're worried about getting sick. It's no longer chasing the high. Now it's chasing not getting sick. And then it becomes a full-time job.
Exactly.
And then the rest of your job falls apart because that's all you're worried about and that's what you're focused on. So definitely very, very difficult to do, but congratulations on climbing off the hamster wheel.
Thank you. And, you know, I lost my dad in February of 2017. He was my biggest inspiration in life, especially business. And he always wanted me to write a book. And I just felt weird because to me, the fellowship and spirituality is about having no ego. And my ego was crushed many years ago when I walked through those doors on July 2nd, 2008. And I keep it crushed because I'm a degenerate opiate addict, substance abuser. Every single day I wake up, and even though I'm coming up on 11 years, and this morning I went to an AA meeting out here in Arizona. I go to meetings all over the world because I don't want to forget where I came from. And I know just as far away I am from that relapse, I'm just as close because it's a lifestyle. And this book has been such a blessing because I'm able to talk about the uncomfortable, never feeling so comfortable. And I know we're going to save a life or two of listeners when this thing airs live, because I see what happens when I speak at events. I know what happens from other interviews, at book signings, events that we've had. What a blessing that my whole life I thought it was about Darren Prince, this so-called super agent role that I was put in. And that's bullcrap. That's just what I do. Who I am is a recovery advocate that's trying to give this gift away to people to help save lives of adults and children everywhere. And I never would have thought that years ago, but it's been the greatest blessing of my life. And, you know, Aiming High has given me that platform to get out there and tell my story to help people.
And that's so true, too. People don't realize the job you have is not who you are. So when I work with clients, I'll say to them, who are you? And they say, I'm a mom, I'm a doctor, I'm a celebrity, I'm this, I'm that. No, that's your job. Who are you? And half the time they stare at me and say, I have no idea who I am. It's because you've hid behind what you do as who you are. And then in secret, in private, you're consuming drugs and alcohol because you don't like who you are or you don't know who you are. And it's a way to figure out, who am I? What am I doing? What direction I'm going? And am I happy doing what I'm doing? We always say the drugs and alcohol aren't the problem. They're your solution to the problem. What's your problem?
Exactly. 100%. You nailed it. I mean, that's it right there. You know, like I said, I was always looking for an outside fix that was ultimately an inside job. And to say I found my purpose in life on this journey, and I found my soul.
Right.
Every bit of it on this journey is just the greatest gift I'm ever given, one day at a time. And that's why I make this first in my life. There's nothing more important than my recovery and giving this gift away, because I know it's helping a lot of people. And I don't have kids myself, but one of the most amazing things, you know, being invited to the White House 3 times last year and being part of the President's Opiate Administration Initiative, and, you know, trying to get a preventative message out there to these kids to never be Darren Prince. Don't go down that road. You know, I'm beyond lucky and blessed to be in this position, because by all rights, I should have been dead years ago. I know God kept me here for a reason, and I don't take this privilege lightly at all. And, you know, I drop everything for anybody at any point, at any time of the day and night.
Yeah. So I want to thank you for coming on the show, and we're going to put up links to your book, Aiming High, right up on the podcast site. And how do people reach you if they're looking for you? How can they get in touch with you?
They can go to my website. I get all the emails there directly from my administrators. Official DarrenPrince.com. It's official DarrenPrince.com. And all the information on the book is there. You know, any type of speaking events I have coming up. And like I said, if somebody's listening and they just need help, they can go there. They could also go on Instagram. I'm very active and open about my recovery, which is at agent_DP, at agent_DP.
Wonderful. Perfect. Thank you so much, Darren Prince, for coming on the show. I appreciate it. And we'll put everything up there. And if our listeners, if you could give them one more piece of advice, that would be fantastic.
Just know that the strength comes in the acceptance and the admitting that there's a problem. You know, you don't have to live in the shame and the hell anymore, because I was in prison for 23 years in my own mind and my own soul. And the greatest thing I ever did was getting on my knees and asking for help. And God came into my life in ways I never could have dreamed of.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much. And you are listening to Unpause Your Life with Dr. Callie Estes, and my guest today was Darren Prince. Hey everyone, thanks again for listening. I really hope you enjoyed the show today. Head on over to iTunes and Apple Podcasts and leave a comment or review of what you think. Or contact us at 1-800-706-0318. If you want to be on our show, feel free to email or call. And if you have a topic, feel free to email or call as well.
Thanks for listening to Unpause Your Life. For show notes and more, head on over to unpauseyourlife.com.
Big shout out to recoveryinnovators.com for help producing this show. Thank you guys.
I took a walk down the long road where they said that I shouldn't go. On my way found a reason to wake up another day. But they needed to show you all the things that you won't do. Find faith or religion, but nothing to show for it. No need to escape in love with my pain. I may be awake, but I'm alive, still alive, and I won't be bound by your mistake. No, I won't be your enemy, trapped at the gate. Bring me to life, put me to death. Just give me something that's just not so hard to believe. To believe. To believe. I took a walk down the dark road where they said that I